Yes.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get.
So we have a public entry here out into a lobby, and then you can find your way to one of the circulation floors, the library, or the gym. And then this would be the private entry, so you can either come in and go directly to the stairs to your apartment, or come in and enter under there.
So you get up and then you go straight to your house.
Yes.
And that the toned area in that upper plane where you both, that's representing that kind of buffer zone.
He's talking about all the blue.
The blue is actually points. Yeah, came out bluer
That's
than
that.
expected.
Okay.
but
Maybe
yes.
quickly touch upon the poster issues that we came up with.
Okay. So the color came out a lot bluer than expected, so that was one thing that we ran into. And then this plan technically should not be showing the apartment and roof below.
But that's the roof below. Or it should be the painted kind of dotted line. The good thing is that it's there, so you actually know. And the blue is supposed to be green, representative of all the green at the different levels.
So wait, where's the level where you arrive at the first residential line? That's the third floor?
Yeah. So you come up the stairs and there's the doors. The 4 units that are clustered around those.
And you have the option from there to go out to the garden area?
No.
So to get out to the garden, you'd have to go back down
Right.
and out and then back up? Or is there an internal way to get up to
No,
the
you would have to
garden?
come from outside.
Go out to the garden.
Oh, it's just there out there.
So
And that's because it is for the public use, and so it's really trying to highlight that anyone off the street
so it's
could walk up.
you're extreme. Like you're either
Yeah, all or nothing.
you're all or nothing.
You're either alone or you're with everyone.
She's taking a position.
Yeah.
I am.
It's an apartment building for hermits.
I appreciate
I think she thought of it as a point of security, though.
Yeah.
Security, I'm sorry.
Because anyone is able to access the top, just keeping it closed off from the
Okay,
residential
securing
spaces.
these folks from those folks.
Yes.
Got it.
I think something that would just graphical, that would just get you more oriented is labeling your spaces.
Yeah.
That helped. And also you have your third above your fourth. So I was getting them confused.
Yeah, totally.
So, but
I agree.
I do like, very introverted, reclusive person. I really like kind of just going up and going straight to my apartment. That kind of works well. It's very, not spiral staircase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it gives, there's not an excess of hallway space. It's kind of just
Yeah.
in and out.
Very minimal.
Yeah, I mean, I love the representation of this. I think the drawings are beautiful.
Thank you.
I love the real efficiency of it, both in terms of the concept. When I say it's extreme, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Because in a lot of these other projects, we get this, like architects, I think, have this sort of utopian ideal of the social aggregator space. Like we're all going to get together in like the big happy communal space, and
Right.
we're all going to have the serendipitous encounters, and it's all going to be great and fun. And I mean, like, does it always work? Maybe sometimes, but sometimes you just want to get in your apartment and be by yourself, and that's fine, right? Yeah, right? And you've created the building for that, and I think like it works. And you've got sort of the logical sequence of diagrams that goes from like the conceptual, the abstract, the organizational, jumping through the scales down to or up to the unit layout with this like the stacked bi-level unit with the furniture to explain to us how all of this logically works. And then you create this amenity off to the side, which is the great sort of like the visual amenity on the roof, where you can't have it. You can't like step out and go visit that unless you go back out and intentionally, it's an intentional gesture, to go back out onto the street and go participate in that. And I really appreciate that. That said,
Yeah, you forgot the fact that they're duplexes too.
oh no, I said that.
Oh,
Yeah, the split level thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I love that. Because that's part of like the compact efficiency of these units.
Yeah.
Right? I think that there is a practical issue of like this, the one single narrow stair, which is actually like it's kind of cool. Like,
Yeah, here it is incorrectly shown. Here and here you can see there's the breaks every.
the landings, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or do you just mean in general the fact that it's a straight?
in
landings
general
are
that
no?
there's just like one stair that takes
Sure.
you up. As an urban gesture, it's kind of exciting. Like where else does that happen? I think Mario Bota's SF MoMA, I think does that.
What is it?
Mario Bota's SF MoMA, I think has that. The urban stair that's just like the long single slice that takes you up to this like roof garden thing. But also, I mean, so there's the practical issue of like two means of egress and accessible access. It's kind of redundant, but like the elevator from the community center to let everybody get up to that level. And again, from just the generosity and practical aspect, like if you are in the community center, do you want to give people that option to get up to that roof versus nope, everybody out onto the street
Right.
and back up the stairs.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I'm like, there's a lot about this. I mean, there's a relentlessness to this, which is A, U, and B, like, you know, which I really appreciate. And then it's like, okay, now what? Like, again, because I'm greedy. And so, I think there's like, and I would do this, like a little partie diagram
Sure.
of this scheme would be great to see, because I think one of the things you've got going on is this kind of, like, I'll call it density or solidity to like porosity, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, where I would probably challenge it is not necessarily working yet is right here.
Okay.
Not these guys, but this.
The patio.
And part of it's a material question in the model, but
Okay.
also like, you know, should these be solid or should they be like a grate, or, you know, like there's
Okay.
something in between this interior space and this screen.
Yeah.
Like these are these horizontal screens? I don't know, but it seems to me like this could be interrogated a bit more
Sure.
for its status as being in between the outside and the inside. And that in between this is, I think, a really important thing, because then how one thing touches the other, using the word intentional, begins to really matter. How does this touch this, as this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Disintegration of a solid, right? Going from this solid mass, that stair tower is like bam, and then this disintegration into, you know, all that is solid is melted air. You know, Marshall Burton.
Yeah.
And that's,
RIP,
yeah, and so there's that. That's kind of my comment for this part. And then this part,
Wait, but that also like is relevant to thresholds, right?
Yes.
That sort of like dissolution.
yeah, it's like, where is the threshold? And that's exactly the right question. Meaning, it isn't in one particular spot, it's a whole series of events that creates a threshold.
Right.
And that's the liminal moment. So, then thinking about this and its relationship to that, if I accept the argument of security, I don't know if I do or not, but fine.
Okay.
Like, I wonder if this maybe like kicks out, be a little bit more of a gesture to the public. You know, it just angles down to be kind of
Yeah.
welcoming and draw people
I
up.
like
It's
that.
a little piece.
Mhm.
And then I'm thinking about the planning of the garden here, and I think maybe what you're doing is there's some sort of an echo of the interior.
Yeah, trying to echo it but create more of like a wandering, a little bit more natural.
So I'd either be really deliberate in that, like make it an echo of the interior, or go in a totally different
Okay.
direction. And like I can imagine a labyrinth being here,
Right.
okay? As a thing. And labyrinths are so awesome because A, they were designed by Daedalus, who was the first architect, and B, in my head, B, because they're not a maze. There, you go in and you return. So the labyrinth becomes the reverse of this, where you come in and you go out.
Right.
And I don't know, it's a thought.
It is,
But
I
I
like
think,
it.
you know, this is part of interrogating
Yeah.
or questioning, well, where would this go next? You know, and labyrinths are about letting go.
Yeah.
So they're kind of remarkable things.
To Amy's point, it's like you're working from a very dense to porous connection. And so when he was saying that, like I was thinking about how you're saying this is glass.
No, that's
Oh.
plants.
That's plants.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be green.
It's meant to be green.
Okay.
Imagine all the blue is green.
I'm colorblind, so it doesn't matter.
You're my saving grace.
I'm thinking that's an opportunity there
Yeah.
to kind of create that porous connection to the skin. Which I guess my question is like, what are you envisioning the skin? Because I was also looking at here.
Yeah, so I didn't want to overly like make this too dense or anything, but these strips that you're seeing going down would be that screen, and then you can see them in plan as well. So they land wherever the large photo ceiling glazing is.
I think what we should, for future reference, so she did the doily as a representation of the screen, but there's actually an architectural
Yeah.
representation she found. And I think what we should do is put
Yeah,
a
I meant
picture
to.
of that here and then put the doily next to it.
Yeah, that was my intention.
Future note, right? I didn't think of it either until now. I was like, oh, it's nowhere.
So, as I'm thinking about this, and as you talk about the labyrinth and stuff, I mean, the other direction this could go is, what's interesting is you've set up two projects in a way for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the self-contained private precinct project, which is super resolved, and it's great. And then this is the super public zone now. And I wonder then, is that really the space for the super public
Right.
in contrast to the super private?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm wondering if that really is the super public space
Yeah.
that wants to be more urban and open. And I don't know, like, because it,
I mean, you think it should be a super public space. Yeah. That's actually a really interesting contrast.
I agree.
and I don't know that that says super public to me.
Yeah.
And then to the idea of threshold, it puts a lot of pressure all of a sudden on the zone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what
Right.
is that liminal space? Why is it that dimension? Does this now touch that facade?
Right.
Why or why not? And what happens in that space?
Yeah.
And what's right? And then
I
what's
don't
the
know,
relationship?
I
with
like the
that?
varying degree of publicness because it's still private residential, right? So maybe it's not super.
But it's
public.
not private residential. It's anybody can go there.
Yeah, but I also think that there are different levels of publicness, right? It's just like the threshold, there's different levels of thresholds, and that threshold it's public, but not super public until you get down to the street.
Right.
I think for me, it's also about this doesn't have a center, and that does.
Yeah.
And so looking for a center, maybe that's why labyrinth came in my
Yeah.
head, right? Because there's,
Totally.
so if it was something that was more open to being a public-ish venue, like saying, okay, yeah, actually there's whatever, performances that happen up here.
Right.
Something that actually like are directly opposite. It's like, oh, a crowd gathers here because there's a band playing. Now how you make that happen, I don't know. There's a lot of logistical things there, but it's the narrative that becomes really interesting.
Or it's the super public collapsed into this
Right.
rectangular space that you have, which is, precincts of public and these different quadrants that we've created that are divided by these structures that we set up. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you, Chuck.
So I know I see a good portion of you are so tired that it's difficult to keep your eyes open.